Hello everyone, my name is Felicia Uche and we currently did a study on music listening and the level of pain and stress in the daily life of patients with fibromyalgia syndrome. Music listening is associated with pain and stress reducing effects. In most cases, the effects of music listening in daily life still remain unknown. Throughout our research, we have examined the effects of music listening in daily life in a sample of women with FMS, fibromyalgia syndrome. 30 women with FMS were examined using an ecological momentary assessment design. Participants rated their current pain intensity, perceived control over pain, perceived stress level, and music listening behavior 5 times per day for 14 consecutive days. An introduction to our research, music listening has been shown to alleviate pain. Thus, it would appear to be a promising means of symptom reduction and health promotion, given that it is a activity of daily life that is popular, cost-effective, and easily accessible. Music listening is associated with reducing subjective stress levels and affects psychological markers of stress. Proposes a model of music evoked emotions in which music is initially processed in the central nervous system, then further impacts endocrine, autonomic, and immune activity. A stress reducing effect of music listening may be explained by music particularly affecting activity in the hippocampal formation, which in turn influences the activity of the HPA. Research has linked music listening to down regulation of HPA axis activity, as mirrored in lower concentrations of the cortisol, thus has led to the conclusion that the health benefits of music listening is mediated by a reduction in stress. So with the materials and methods that were used, a total of 30 women meeting the fibromyalgia research criteria between the ages of 27 to 64 were recruited via specialized clinics and various advertising outlets from the general population, an example newspapers, self-help groups, and the internet, of course. As part of a bigger study on everyday life stress in patients with functional somatic symptoms, the eligibility criteria were the diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and you had to be the female sex. So all of the patients, had to be female with FMS. The study was designed as a assessment study, and then the participants were watched and reviewed from a 14-day period, and then phone interviews again were taken to check the criteria in hoping that it was met. Participants were also given iPod touches and were required to complete 6 daily assessments on each day, turning on the iPad when they wake up in the morning and not turning them off from then on out, and of course recharging the iPod every night. Each participant had to provide a saliva sample after each assessment. During each assessment, the participants were asked to review music listening behavior, pain levels, subjective stress, and psychological stress levels. In a result, participants reported having suffered from FMS for a mean of 120 months, as there is no reason to assume that these conditions affect subjective data. These participants were included in all analysis regarding subjective data. With regard to the ecological assessment data, music listening was reported in 21.2% of daily assessments. The music that was listened to was rated as rather positive in valiance and high in arousal. The reasons most common stated for music listening were relaxation at 48.8%, distraction at 34.5%, activation at 25.8%, and reducing boredom at 12.3%. And as you can see, those levels fluctuate, again, based on anyone's own personal experiences and, of course, what happens in their daily life. In discussion, we found a beneficial effect of listening to music, especially, of course, how the FMS patients cope with pain in their daily life, whereas the perceived pain intensity was not affected by listening to music. Perceived control over music was significantly increased after having listened to music. This effect was especially profound in participants who listened to music more often than others, with an increase in the number of music episodes being associated with an increase in the pain-reducing effect. The reason of activation, again, predicted successful reduction in subjective stress, but the biological stress responsive systems were not affected by listening to music in the daily life, especially in these patients. Although this is the very first study to examine the effects of music listening on pain and stress in patients with FMS, in an everyday life setting, combining both psychological and biological outcomes, the study is not without limitations. First, the timing of the assessment relative to the music listening did not allow us to draw any conclusions about immediate effects of music listening on pain and of stress. In conclusion, fibromyalgia syndrome is complex and in part poorly understood chronic disorder, so it was hard to get accurate results. An optimal management of pain is not yet available, although a multimodal approach, including music interventions, has been suggested to help, again, further better and more accurate results. And we did not find this pain-reducing effect to be mediated by stress-responsive systems. I included a table below that shared the levels and effects of music in each in different categories. Model 1 showed changes in pain intensity by reason for music. Model 2 showed changes in control over pain by reason for music listening. And Model 3 showed changes in subjective stress by levels for music listening. And it shows the fixed effects, random effects, and these categories are categorized by each subgroup of age, and it goes to show the levels that have spiked with music listening in each category. And that is the conclusion of our research study. Thank you.